I mean, that's why we create art as well. I mean, I know the producers might not agree because they put in so much money, and in that way, cinema is a very expensive art form or a form of expression, which is where, you know, commerce is involved a lot. But, you know, art is it's to communicate, it's to have a dialogue, it's to have all this. So, as an artist, I feel that the world should be free.
No boundaries.
Oh, Sanjay is looking at me like, Geo.
Thank you, Tanisha ma'am. On this note, I would like to ask producer Shubha Shetty ma'am. Ma'am, how did this idea of the movie Storyteller, the journey of Storyteller start? Could you please let us know?
So the idea didn't come to us. All credit to the director, Anant Mahadevan. He had loved the story. He went ahead and bought the rights from Sandeep Ray, and after that he approached us. So we just saw the story, and obviously what is there not to love about this story? And that's how the journey began. And I must thank Purpose Entertainment and Geo Studios, because they kind of gave us the support that we needed to, that's how this whole thing happened.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions?
I have a question related to the plagiarism discussion. So I watched the movie and it's a wonderful movie, but being Ray, there are so many subplots, and I haven't read this particular story. But I came out feeling a little sad about the fact that here is this man who used to tell stories for the love of it, and at the end of the movie, he begins to monetize them or thinks of them as a monetary benefit. So what are your thoughts on this? Because that made me a little sad.
That's a lovely question.
Yeah. But I think that is a representation, I think that is a representation of the world that we are moving towards, and exactly what I was speaking about, that, you know, as artists, as creators, we just create. But unfortunately, or whatever, you know, the world that we live in monetizes everything, and, you know, it's about products. Everything has a price tag. Like, it's not only about storytelling, like everything has it. Copyright has an issue in medical science, in any scientific research as well. It's like, you know, I have a lab and I'm creating something for humanity, but it has a price. As a scientist, I probably, you know, I have a lot of scientist friends, and I talk to them, and this is their entire struggle as well. So it's a very large debate. And in fact, it's a moral debate. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one of us have an answer to that. And we all probably think about it, because at the core of it, we all want things to be free in the world for everyone. My 7-year-old daughter sometimes asks me this, that, you know, Mama, why do we have to pay money for everything? Why can't I just get that? Why can't I just go to Goa because I want to go there? So I don't know how to answer.
I think there's one more interesting aspect. I mean, what she said, it is a very, very complex debate on whether or what kind of principles, laws we should form. It should be a very, very complex, it would be a very complex debate, but I guess towards the end, and bringing the film into the discussion, towards the end when he said, "Na, main bina paisa ke kuch nahi karta hu abhi," I think there is, if you look at it from, sorry, I'm very influenced by Indian mystics, so I'm going to quote, say it from there, something that I remember. It says that anything you do, either you truly express gratitude. If you receive something from somebody, could be a song for a film, you have truly expressed gratitude within and acknowledge, or you pay. And that's the karmic law, that unless you pay, you will not get anything. You know, so anything you think you're getting free, you have to face consequences. So I think Satyajit, I didn't know whether he was an atheist or he was a believer. I have no idea how much he has delved into Indian mysticism. I have no clue. But I think it is very important that, like, for example, some people copy, they don't even acknowledge that I have copied from here. You know, there are few films made in Bollywood I have seen. Arey, ye to udhar se hai, ye to this particular scene is copied from that film, but there is no mention of anybody. So then you have to pay for it by you know, in some way or the other. Sorry, I think it is a bit too esoteric what I said, but it is true.
I just think it's like, you know, life is like things are constantly changing. Like we are in a time where reels and posting and Instagram has become like such a huge deal. So I think he just, at the end of the film, for me at least, that is how I saw it, that he just gave in to the change, and that is what just happened for Tarini
That's what she
Kuro.
was. Is this degradation or is it deterioration? Yeah.
Going with the change.
Just
Going with the
discussion.
flow.
And it just change. It is how
Yeah.
the future.
But
I
very
think,
good question.
I think the most important thing is he understood his worth, which is what he thought.
Correct.
But is worth always monitored? For this
Yeah,
long
I know.
discussion.
Why not? Why not?
Thank you for your thoughts.
Just before the next question, we would like to welcome Suchanda Chatterjee, ma'am, from the Quest Films. Yes, next question, please. So.
Yeah, hello. Here. Yeah, so very hearty welcome to all of you and congratulations on your film.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I couldn't catch it yet, but I'm quite sure that I will be doing it at the first opportunity available. I saw the trailer. In the trailer, it is mentioned one of the dialogues is that thinking and doing are different, or thinking is not the same thing as doing. Am I right?
नहीं, ये दुनिया सोचने और वालों के लिए नहीं, करने वालों के लिए है.
Okay, so is this something which the film as a whole, if we can attribute there is a spirit or a personality to the film, does the character of does the film and the filmmakers and the actors and the producers, all of you who are here, do you share this belief?
Sujendra, we had been talking a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's your time.
Can you just repeat your question?
Okay, so Adil Hussain he has just clarified my question, saying that the dialogue, there is a
The
dialogue in
world
the movie
belongs
which says that
to
ये दुनिया, the world is for doers, not for thinkers. ये दुनिया करने वाले के लिए है, सोचने वाले के लिए नहीं. So I'm asking whether all of you share this belief or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
So is that a unanimous yes
I
from the
think-
dais?
I think
We all have.
no.
Yeah, it's
Not completely. I
Could you
think.
please clarify the points of disagreement?
She was saying something.
So
I think it's सोच के करने वालों के लिए है.
So basically, I feel I would
You
lean
know,
towards your point of view, and I strongly disagree with the dialogue which is there in the film, because I believe is there really a distinction between thinking and doing?
no, I think you have to see the film and you have to see it in the context of when
Why
that
it
dialogue
Why and
comes.
when it was
You
said,
can't
yeah.
just have a blanket. You know, this is why trailers, Instagram, and Twitter is problematic because in 140 characters, you just say that much, but there is a background, context, everything to why at that point of time that particular character actually expresses it. So only when you watch the film that you would know in what context is he saying that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to question that. But
Yeah,
so if you could
So
briefly.
you can't just say, in the trailer I saw that one line and therefore I don't agree with the film or I don't agree with
No,
this
no, he's
because
not
it's not.
saying
No, I'm not
No,
saying. I don't say.
Do
The
I
philosophy
really
of that.
agree?
Okay. No, I mean obviously, and the film is also not saying that. I think like Shubha very rightly pointed out that it's both and it is. It's not what that film is also about.
No, please don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I'm
yeah,
not questioning
yeah.
the film.
Sujendra, you were saying something, no?
No, no, I was talking about Satyajit Ray. As you said, he was completely an atheist.
Oh,
And
was he?
in Bengal, we have not seen him in the Puja Pandal also. That's
Really?
biggest festival very often. You know, I mean, there is not a single picture with Satyajit Ray unless otherwise he's shooting there in the Puja Pandal. So he was completely an atheist. You can ask Sandeep that way. Anyway, you're talking about the thinking and doing. You know, when Satyajit Ray wrote this story, all of you know that this was a short story of Tarini Kuro. He has written a lot of stories of this character called Tarini Kuro. This is one of the stories which he had written out of vengeance, out of frustration.
Yes.
Okay, and this is just he thought, oh my God, the world is like this. Let me write a story on this, story on plagiarism. So this is beautifully written, you know, and very tactfully written without hurting anybody's emotion. If you find out in that, you know, I mean, he didn't make Tarini Kuro a villain, and it was just, you know, some kind of the entire film. Even Garodia, he didn't make anybody villain. He didn't hurt anybody's sentiment. Any writers or a storyteller's sentiment. So beautifully, if you see the last scene of our film, it is told that how can you compare a storyteller and a story writer? When a story, who is bigger? Nobody is bigger. They are equal, maybe. He's trying to make it equal, both of them, which is so beautifully done. Yet there was a strong message to the plagiarism, which he also felt once upon a time.
So speaking about plagiarism, do you think that we are in an era where we are plagiarizing whole selves and not just products of art?
You mean ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would
If you give us an example.
No, you mean to say the societal conditioning, I mean, we are victims of the past, right? We are all victims of our prejudices, our preconceived notions, our unexamined beliefs, and various the dogmatic traditions which have been handed over to us, which may not have been examined by our forefathers, foreparents rather. So, I mean, and like recently someone was saying now that the individual is individual is strangled by the power of society. That the power of the opportunity for individual expression is very little. So my question is that in this eagerness to fit in with what we think is the ideal as conveyed by someone whom we don't know, who may not have even thought about it, aren't we in a sense plagiarizing others? I mean, the individuality itself is, we are unable to see who we are. Do you think?
Wow.
You want to say something? Yeah.
I mean, it's a very interesting thought. There's a film called Everything for Sale. I don't know whether you've seen it. Many years. Yeah, it's one of the masters of Polish cinema, Andrzej Wajda. He made that film. Of course, many years back. I forget the Polish title of it, but in English it's Everything for Sale. And actually, he deals with exactly what you're talking about. It's made in the 70s. And how life imitates art, art imitates life, imitates others, imitates, and finally everything is for sale. Like, stories are for sale, emotions are for sale, inspiration is for sale. Like, it's a huge comment on even artists, and it's a masterpiece, that film, Everything for Sale. So yeah, these thoughts, I think, are sort of floating in the community, in the storytelling community or the artistic community, or around people who think, like, who express and who dwell with thoughts and ideas. That is it or is it not? Do we have answers to that? And I think, I don't know whether we have direct answers to anything, and I guess that's the function of artists, that we always question our curiosity, and we try and think and question from everything that we are seeing and experiencing, but often we don't have answers. We all are thinking.
But I hope you will help us direct to the right questions, if not the answers. Which I think
Yes,
are more
but that is the purpose, I think, of all stories and all art forms, is to actually help the artist as well as the viewer to ask questions.
To elevate our awareness about who we are.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you are sitting there, your nose, which is sitting on your face, could be from your great-grandfather, and your ears are from grandmother, and your entire hardware is derived from your forefathers, and your software, which is your conditioning, is from the 7 generations, according to the, again, mystic understanding of Indian mystic understanding. So are you a plagiarized version of your forefathers?
Even monkeys?
We all are. Sorry?
Of course.
Even monkeys and chimpanzees, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
if you
of
go
course,
back
of
to the
course.
Big Bang, I mean, it's a big debate. So it's a good question, and I think that these questions will finally lead us to ask what Ramana Maharshi asked, that who am I? This is my hand, these are my arms, these are my eyes, these are my thoughts. these are my, emotions, but who does it belong to? Who is that I that this body belongs to? So, it can go there. But art definitely is one of the great mediums, should become at least a great medium. If it is not, most of it is for, the intent behind is only money, but not the awareness to create awareness amongst the society. But it's going in that direction slowly. Content is becoming more, slowly deeper. And to help people, what Tanisha said, to ask questions. What are we doing here? The 5 W's that we ask: who, why, where, when, and what. These questions are actors' questions to practically help us act better in a scene. But if I bring those particular 5 W's and put it in our lives and ask me, who am I? And what am I doing here? When am I here? Where am I here? So these questions will lead us to a greater understanding of our existence, I think. And art should help that.
Well, a question of deep thought and an answer of deep thoughts. Thank you. On that note, can we have the next question, sir?
You get to ask 3 at the most. No, I'm just
Yes, please.
This one's for the producers. You were mentioning earlier that it was a 3-year process to bring the storyteller to the screen. Can you tell us about any sort of resistance in those early stages with financiers trying to raise the production money and get studios involved? And then any point during this journey, did you ever felt like to give up and this wasn't going to happen?
I really thank you for asking this question. I mean, it's a long journey and long story. And in between, we also thought about plagiarism. Let us do something about that so that we can take it to the world. But the journey was very difficult, very, very difficult, because these days nobody, I wouldn't say permits, nobody is interested in doing such kind of films where they don't tag it as a commercial hit. But what we thought when it came to us, we thought it's a beautiful story, and story of a master called Satyajit Ray. And when he wrote, we were floored, we were absolutely sold because of his emotion, why he had written this story. There was a backstory. We were sold by the backstory, not the exact story what he has written today, what we have made it, a film. So much of emotion, so much of, as you said, as he was asking, what is the pain? What is the pain when you see your own stories getting plagiarized? How do you go through it? And you see, some master has written it in so much of with so much of humor. So that's the thing which actually moved us. Coming back to your question, yes, we had a very difficult time to sell this. We tried every studio everywhere except Geo Studio. Thankfully, when we took it to Geo Studio, and both Sanjay Ram and Shobha Sant, they said, we are doing it. And that's how we got the film, this is there today. This is a tremendous support of this studio who actually looks for this kind of stories, this kind of meaningful stories. We really, really thank them and grateful to them that we could do it with their help. But these last 3 years, we tried everywhere. Nobody has accepted this. Sorry to say this.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question.
What was the budget?
Budget. Should we discuss budget?
Can you reveal numbers?
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering because 3 years, so how much, what are we looking at? What kind
No,
of
no,
figures?
we try to make it as minimum as possible. And whatever Geo Studio has asked us to make it with, we have managed to do it. With the help of our actors who are way, way, way more, they had cut their price. They were very, very considerate in doing it. With all our actors and all our technicians, by the way.
Thank you.
My question is, where all was it screened outside India and the kind of reception you've received?
I think she can.
Fortunately, we've had a premiere at the Busan International Film Festival. We were also nominated for the Kim Ji-suk Award. The reception, we had 2 screenings there. The first screening was a smaller auditorium, and we were very iffy about how the response would be, because this is a typically Indian kind of humor. We thought, but the response was amazing. People laughed at the right places, and people came to us and told us that they really loved it. And the second screening was at a much larger auditorium 2 days later. I guess the word of mouth kind of worked. That one was full. And we had a very, Adil was there with us, we had a very long Q&A session, which showed that people really loved the film and they kind of were very curious about knowing a lot of things about it.
Just to add to ma'am's, the Indian premiere happened at IFFI 53 yesterday in Goa, and I was fortunate enough to join the premiere, and I must say the house was fully packed, and it was the audience received it really well, and even Twitter is trending. So the next question, please.
Know that.
We didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Okay, go ahead.
Of course. Adil Hussain, you said that you said
अच्छा मुझे बोल रहे हो अभी.
no,
चलिए,
that is
okay,
what
go
you
ahead.
said, but the question is for everyone. Yeah. So, like you have made a beautiful statement that it is a role of artists to nurture empathy, right? I believe.
I don't know.
Of course. All of us believe here, I suppose, that because that is one of the foundational purpose and outcomes of great art.
Yes.
So this reminds me of the concept of emotional intelligence propounded by Daniel Goleman, and he says the two fundamental components of emotional intelligence are empathy and self-control. And just some time back, with regard to my first question, you were saying that you were afraid whether I am coming to some abrupt conclusions based upon watching only the trailer, which is also happens due to lack of self-control, right? The obsession with speed. So my question is, do you think that art has a role and responsibility in cultivating self-control also, and in helping us reclaim the lost attention and lost connections, helping us reclaim our focus, and if so, how can it be done? In fact, what Chatterjee ma'am was saying regarding the difficulty that you faced in getting producers, isn't that also symptomatic or rather representative of the same issue? I mean, I believe there is a very myopic view in the industry itself in terms of what kind of films should receive funding. Aren't they, by doing so, aren't they dumbing down and grossly underestimating the capacity of the audience for reflection and deep thought?
Wow.
And what is the way out of this?
You asked around 10 questions in that question, but great. The first one you said, empathy. It is not only, what is the name that you mentioned about emotional intelligence?
Daniel Goleman.
Daniel Goleman. It is there in Indian understanding for thousands of years. Like, for example, a simple line from a bhajan, Jaisi lagi lagan mera ho gayi. So when you become one with the other, then only you get to know the other. And that's like a fundamental wisdom which is there in Indian people. I have faced it, seen it. I traveled across the country for 2 years on my motorbike in 95 and 96, and I have seen this kind of wisdom. Those who didn't go to even school, or those who are not even literate, but they are highly, highly educated, without going to school. So it is there within us. We don't need to take any lessons from anybody else. But of course, people, those who are educated in modern schools like me, we need to get references from Western thinkers as well. Otherwise, don't believe in our thoughts. Great wisdom which has come. And the second part that you have mentioned about, yes, I think art, unless it serves the purpose to elevate the awareness of people, those who are watching, witnessing the piece of art, I don't even call it art. I don't think so. You could be a dancer, but you may not be an artist. You could be an actor, but you may not be an artist. You are an actor, But to raise oneself, to rise above the basic function of an actor, or a dancer, or a piece of cinema, to go to reach the level of art, it needs that multiple perspective of one truth. Like Satyajit Ray, in his, as you have said, Suchandra was saying, that there's this amazing, that there is no animosity amongst the, he put this particular subject so beautifully that you feel for everybody. And that is what probably is the fundamental purpose of art. Then, of course, the sense of aesthetics and beauty, all these come into, you know, to make you feel that you are proud to be born as a human being on this planet, and then you get to enjoy this beauty of nature, to appreciate that, to be able to see the nuances of creation. That is the purpose of art. Otherwise, for me, it is not art at all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Any more questions? Yes, I have.
May I know your name, please?
My name is Deep Joy.
Sorry?
Deep Joy.
Deep Joy.
Deep Joy.
Mampalli, yeah.
Which part of the world are you from?
Kolkata.
Well,
Now I am asking the questions. It's not a very difficult one. Do you remember which part?
depends on the world. Anyway, I'm from Kerala, Cochin.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So how do I know that? Not because of your accent. But thank you so much for asking wonderful questions.
Shall I ask one more?
Ask them.
Yeah, so basically I understand that the film is about storytelling, and it is the film conveys the message that one should not procrastinate, and the character is someone who I think has been postponing the beginning of his creation of the work of art, right? So when we are speaking about writing stories, the natural complementary activity which comes to mind is reading, right? So I am reminded of what Neil Postman, American author, said in his 1985 book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. He says that what George Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Aldous Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. So, I believe we are far past that age, unfortunately. We have already in that age. Though there is a revival of interest in Indian citizens also towards reading, but broadly we have a problem. So,
Now we are worried Twitter will die.
I think.
So just if I just complete
Yeah,
my
yeah.
question. So basically, how do you think about this issue? And I would also like to ask, how would you think Satyajit Ray would have thought about this question, and if he were alive today, which we believe he is, how would he respond to this?
You to write a story.
I think he would write a story. He would make a film, because that's how he expressed himself. He would create a piece of music, or a sketch.
Or an illustration,
And we all are doing that. But having heard that first part of your question, I think things go in cycles. And because I have a young daughter, Adil also has a son, and when I see children now, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, the amount of reading that they do, it's amazing. So I think it's going to come back, because all my daughter's friends and their circle of friends, they have read and they read stuff which I didn't even think of when I was 7 years old. My daughter reads Roald Dahl.
On the phone, but...
Yeah, not on the phone, books. I'm talking about books. Not... And then, of course, there's other sort of kids who are on their iPads and, all the time, and they're playing video games as well. But there's also a lot of young children who are reading a lot and questioning. So it's not all that doom and gloom, I would like to believe, at least from the surroundings that I see, and there is hope with children. And the kind of questions that they ask, the kind of empathy that they have for the world. Where you do see teenagers and kids who do not have empathy at all, and they're growing up in a very privileged sort of upbringing where they're getting everything without asking for it, and they take things for granted. You also do see kids who are very empathetic towards nature, towards animals, towards other human beings and other children, much more than we were aware, at that age.
Yeah.
So that's also happening. So there is, yes, that's also there. So, so I would like to believe that there will always be the forces of, in a very traditional way, the good and the evil or whatever. That fight has always been there in the world, whether we read our epics, their epics, everywhere, the fight between these forces where you are talking about the morals, virtues, values versus something which is selfish, greed, oppressive. This fight has always been there and it is still there, and the fact that we talk about it, we question it, we think about it, we are worried about it, is a good sign.
Thank you, Tanisha ma'am. I believe we are running short of time. I think.
Sanjay, kuch
Yes,
karo.
Just one last question. Last question.
Very short one, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
पूछेगा.
No, Tanisha, you had said something about the issue of copyright, right? Because there is a copyright, we are not able to use old songs and not make freely. We are not able to freely use old products of art in coming out with inspirational products today. So you also talked about the medical issue of patents and all. So do you think there should be some legislation whereby you put an end date to the copyright, let us say for only 5 years or 10 years, or even probably no copyright should be there at all, so that, because I believe a great artist will not be worried about these things. He will be not worried, he or she will not be worried if someone copies it.
Yeah, I mean, as a human entity in this universe, or a living entity, whatever, that's what I would like to have. A universe free of, but yeah, I mean,
A bad copy will hurt.
no, but I'm not talking like in terms of realism, as an idea, as a thought and an idea, I would like a universe which is free of any of these things that we're talking about, of capital actually, putting price tags. But yeah, I mean, that is not the real world that we live in, and maybe there's a larger purpose to not having it so easy at this point of time. I don't know the answer, because I think the universe and its schemes are much bigger than what we understand, and maybe what is happening today and the struggles that we have with law has a larger purpose. I don't know that, but yeah, with certain things, especially I think with science, I would like it to be, but then there are people who are also investing money in those labs. So I don't have an answer to that. I would want it to be free, but I don't know how.
I think we should try for it, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we had a deep discourse on a lot of topics. So we'd like to thank Geo Studios, Quest Films, Purpose Entertainment, the producers, actors of the Storyteller. Thank you very
so
much.
much.